Hey there, and welcome everybody to the Jim Masters Show live entertainment lifestyle talk show series. How are you? How is your day going? We welcome you. I hope your day is going well. If it isn't, well, this is the place where we're going to lift you up with some great entertainment, great conversation, inspiring conversation, light love, levity, and whatever else happens. This is a warm and inviting, free-flowing entertainment lifestyle talk show series patterned after some of the old school talk shows where you're bringing back the lost art of conversation and blending the old school tradition of the art of conversation with some of the new modern vibe and sensibilities of today. We're here every day live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. And we invite and welcome you and hope you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. We have over 235 incredible, lengthy, epic episodes of our series where we really go deep, where we really have an opportunity to learn about our guests as well as our loveity viewers who watch. And you get a chance to learn a little bit about me as well. It's a wonderful marriage of viewers and the host and our guests here on our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. An epic weekend we had this past weekend where we had Nathan Carter on live from Ireland, and we had George Paris from Athens, Greece, and then we also had incredible Grammy-winning producer earlier in the week. Terry Wollman was with us as well. And then we also had Grammy-winning producer and composer and musician John Prue, who was on with us on Saturday night, and he played live. And if you missed that episode, you can see it on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. We also want to take a very special moment to thank our friends at The Hollywood Reporter. They made mention of the Jim Masters Show live and directed their readers to our series, and especially the episode that we did in tribute to Hollywood legendary actress Sky Aubrey, who passed away at age of 74 at the end of last year. She was a guest on our show with playwright Edward Jordan. We had a beautiful conversation and a lot of laughs. She really had a wonderful time with us, and we did with her. And she was on for an extended interview with Edward and I here on the series in the summer. And then we learned from her daughter that she had passed away. So we did a very special tribute show to Sky Aubrey. Her daughter, Anastasia, popped on the show and was a special guest. And also Edward Jordan returned, and we did a wonderful conversation. We also aired a special video tribute that her daughter made. We aired that on that episode. And then I re-aired some clips for when Sky was on with me. So the Hollywood Reporter, that legendary magazine, they made mention of it. And a lot of people have been discovering that episode because in the article, we just posted that on our Facebook page at Jim Masters TV, the article referenced the special tribute. So we thank our friends, the Hollywood Reporter, for doing that. And Anastasia, Sky's daughter, made sure that happened as well. And we thank her for doing that. We also pay special notice to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Of course, Dr. King always spoke of light and love. And as you know, we always do here on the Jim Masters Show live as well. And I had an opportunity to actually host a half-hour public affairs show recently that was talking about the prayer breakfast that normally has happened for about 35 years in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. All across the country, and we bring special guests in. So we did do that, but the actual breakfast and all this guest speakers and events, that happened virtually this morning. So we celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today on our show. We welcome everybody, all of our lovely viewers watching all around the world. Good to see everybody. Thanks for joining us all weekend long and every day. Again, about 235 episodes daily. We've got an extraordinary week of guests coming up. Very, very busy month, and we love that. We've got an amazing guest coming up in just a moment. Two-time Tony-winning playwright and lyricist and author Joe DiPietro is joining us live from New York as well. A little sip here. Again, if you're not having a good day or you just want to chat with us, It's so nice to see all of you all around the world. We do have an international audience of viewers and fans here on the show who love our Facebook page, Jim Masters TV. They subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, Instagram, Twitter, all at Jim Masters TV. And look at all these smiley faces I see here. Dante CD watching in San Diego says, hello, fellow Loveities. Welcome to Loveity Hall with Jim Masters, Mr. Loveity. Welcome our honored guest. You are now a Loveity. I told Joe all about the Loveity connection here, and he said, bring it on. I love it. You know, he's won Tonys and an amazing amount of incredible awards for his brilliance as a playwright and more. But he's excited to be a Loveity tonight. Thanks, Dante. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you here on the show. Hello, Jim and Loveity friends from Mary Bishop in Florida. Good to see you as well. Kathy Short, good evening, Jim and Loveities. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. We hope you are as well. Kathy Short in Cleveland. Of course, I welcome everybody that's watching. Right now, we're on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. We're also on our Facebook page at Jim Masters TV. And Merlin in Ontario, Canada says, hi there, Jim and Loveities. Good to see you, Merlin. And Wozniak is here. Hello, Anne. Good to see you. And hello, Jim and all the Loveities. Hope you had a wonderful day. We still are. Catherine is here. Hi, Jim and Loveities. Good to see you, Catherine. Looking forward to the interview I'm going to be doing with you as well on Close Up Radio. Can't wait for that. Good to see you, Catherine. Thanks for joining us. Hello, Jim, and good evening, Loveities. Linda Odell in St. Augustine, Florida. If you missed any of our episodes, gang, you can see all of them on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. Bernadette is here. Hi, Jim and fellow Loveities. Good to see you, Bernadette. Always one of our faithful, loyal Loveities. We love that, love that. And I love it. I love it. No hat. Love the hair unveiling. Actually, yeah, I didn't have the hat on over the weekend with the weekend shows. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Go deep. Love it. Yes, we do on our show. And we try to do some inspiration. Jennifer Barry in Allentown, Pennsylvania is saying, not feeling good tonight. Yeah, I know that when you have the bad weather, it can really irritate that injury that you have. Well, I'm glad that you're here, and hopefully we'll put some smiles on your face and we'll make you zen. Jen is zen. I know you like to be zen on our show. Soraya, hi, Jim, and everyone else. Good to see you, Soraya, and Juanita in South Africa, one of our wonderful, faithful Loveities here on the show. Good to see you. Hello, Jim, and the lovely Loveities. Thanks for those pictures too, Juanita, that you sent of your lovely garden there, your pandemic garden. There in beautiful South Africa. Well, I'm going to try to do a show where we do a host chat again. We want to do a host chat. We'll show some photos that are coming in. Also, we have a ton of videos that our guests have made telling us about their experiences on their show and how much they enjoyed their time on the Jim Masters Show Live and how they want to come back on. We're going to show the videos that the guests made. And also a lot of viewers made, you know, these short, quick videos. They just want to express how much they enjoy the show. And we appreciate that. We've aired some of them about a week or so ago. We're going to air more because we received a ton more. Wonderful Lady Bain, brilliant R&B singing sensation. Good to see you, Cassandra. Nice to have you with us, and I hope you're doing well. And lots of great folks tuning in today. Kathleen Walker in New York City. Hiya, Jim. Hope you had a good day. Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. Absolutely. And we hope you are well, too. Merlin is cheering us in Canada. And Catherine Duclos, light and love. You're always thinking about us that way. Thank you. MLK Day as well, celebrating. Thank you, Catherine. And in Holland, in the Netherlands, one of our regular Loveity viewers, Willie is here. Good to see you, Willie. Hope you're feeling better as well. In Connecticut, Sharon DeMaria is here. Happy Monday, everyone. Good to see you, Sharon. In Ohio, Christopher Joseph is here. Hello, Jimbo and all Loveities. Tulips coming direct from Holland with Willie. Bernadette is welcoming Joe to Loveity Hall, and so is Merlin, and Mona is here from Louisiana. Hello, Jim, and all the Loveities. Good to see you, Mona. Mary Jones, dear friend and radio colleague as well, who has a wonderful life now in Florida. She's also on the air in Florida, but an amazing woman. Mary Jones, hi, Jim. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Mary. I hope to see you soon, too. I hope to see you soon. Catherine, I can't wait to see you as well soon. That'll be great. June, wonderful dear friend. Hi, all. XOXO. Good to see you, June, in New York. Good evening, Joe. You're a loveity now from Linda. Christine Clifton in North Carolina. Hi, Jim and loveity friends. Welcome. Tony-winning playwright Joe DiPietro to the show tonight. Looking forward to the conversation in Loveity Hall. Thank you, Juanita. And sitting here for a wonderful show with Joe. Thank you, June. Thank you. And Anne from Southern California is with us. We love having Anne with us. Hello, everyone. Glad to see everyone on this beautiful day. We had a little cloud and inclement weather here along the coast. We are in the greater New York area along the southern New England coast, literally on the water between New York and Boston. But then the sun came out. So that was cool. The sun, you know, they always say the sun will come out tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar. And that is so true. Very excited to welcome our very special guest, Joe DiPietro, to the show. Look at this cool picture. Yeah, 2 Tonys, huh? And Joe is on the left. Let me tell you just a little bit about him, and then we're going to have a nice conversation. Playwright, lyricist. He has won 2 Tony Awards, a Drama Desk Award, 3 Outer Critics Circle Awards. His musicals and plays have received thousands of productions across the country and around the world. And there's so many of them on Broadway. Nice work if you can get it, starring Matthew Broderick and Kelli O'Hara. 10 Tony nominations, including Best Book, Best Musical. Memphis, 4 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, Best Book, Best Score. All Shook Up. Living on Love, starring Renee Fleming. Off-Broadway, Ernest Shackleton Loves Me. Clever Little Lies, starring Marlo Thomas. The Toxic Avenger. The OCC Award, Best Off-Broadway Musical. The Thing About Me as well. And that also received an Outer Critics Circle Award, Best Off-Broadway Musical. The much-produced comedy Over the River and Through the Woods. And I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. The longest-running musical revue in off-Broadway history. And the credits go on. The Art of Murder won the Edgar Allan Poe Award for Best Play in his adaptation of Schnitzler's Ronde. Really incredible. And The Last Romance, too, and Creating Claire. And it's unbelievable. I am sure you've either heard of or you've seen one of his incredible productions. We're going to talk about it. And it is my pleasure to welcome him live from New York to our show. Joe, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
So you've got the Tonys and all these other wonderful accolades, well-deserved, of course, my friend. But tonight, the viewers have already dubbed you a loveity. How does that make you feel? Are your feet tingling?
Everything's tingling. It's the biggest honor ever.
It's even setting off the alarms, I hear.
Exactly. New York. It's going wild.
That's it. Well, I want to show you some of the loveity coming your way. And Juanita in South Africa says, welcome to the show, Joe. It's late in South Africa when she watches, but she is here. Willie in Holland, the Netherlands. Welcome, Joe, to the Jim Masters show. I love all of this. And Anne says a warm welcome from Jacksonville, Florida. Joe, looking forward to an amazing evening with you. Love that. And again, these comments that come in are lots of loveity, and it's fantastic. The world needs more loveity. Welcome to Loveity Hall, Joe, from Mary Bishop in Florida. We love that as well. And of course, our friend June sitting waiting for this wonderful show, sitting here and enjoying. That's our great June. And in Southern California, hello, everyone. Glad to see everyone today, which is beautiful. Christine is welcoming you as well to Loveity Hall. I love this. This is terrific. And Merlin in Ontario, Canada says the very same, Joe. Welcome, Joe, to Loveity Hall. You're now a loveity. And Bernadette, welcome, Joe, to Loveity Hall. And it's pouring in. Jennifer says, hey, Joe, Jen is zen. That's good. We love that. She wasn't feeling too well, and now she's zen. Welcome, Joe, to Loveity Hall from Mona. And Todd in Hollywood, your shows are wonderful, Joe, as is your daily show, Jim. Todd, thank you. We appreciate that. Appreciate that, Todd. In Hollywood. That's fantastic. Christopher Joseph in Ohio says, welcome, Joe DiPietro, to Jim Masters Live. We appreciate that. Really, really nice. Cool stuff. So a lot of great comments coming in from the viewers, and love it. So thanks, gang. Keep those comments coming in. Kathleen in New York says, hi, Joe. Welcome. She's in New York City there. Mona in Louisiana. Welcome, Joe, to Loveity Hall. Nice, warm welcome. So now that you're all toasty and warm with all the Loveity, how are you with everything that we've been dealing with? You're a ultra creative person. You are, I think you refer to yourself as a theater beast. You live and breathe the theater. You're all about it, and productions, and making us laugh and think and cry and live life. How are you doing, and how are you keeping busy during the craziness of everything that we've been dealing with? And I won't say unprecedented, because everybody's used that word, just the unusual times we've had over the last many months.
Yeah, well, I was actually in previews for my newest Broadway show called Diana, about Princess Diana musical. And we were about a week and a half into our preview period, and we were on Broadway and previewing. And this was early March, when I call it was like opening a show on Broadway, and then you had this freight train of a virus just coming at you. And we were working on the show every night and having, new audiences came in to see it every night. It was going really well. And then suddenly Broadway closed down, I think on March 14th. And you could tell it was interesting, because from the first performance to our last, which was only about a week long, you could tell the audience is getting more and more nervous because the virus and all the news, and no one knew what was happening. And we were in New York City, which at that time was, almost ground zero for the virus in the States. So it was a really wild time. And as soon as Broadway shut down, I think I had 3 or 4 weeks of, what do we do? What do I do? As I'm a writer, and I'm home a lot anyway, wrestling with ideas and thoughts. What do I do? It was, I think, really tough to write. I didn't know what I should write. And then after, sort of settled down after 2 or 3 weeks, I thought to myself, you know what? Like, I'm a writer, and all I do is complain about the fact that I don't have enough time to write, because I have all these other responsibilities and lunches and friends and things. And suddenly all that was gone. So all I had was time. So I decided, I'm going to write. I'm just going to basically, however this lasts, and it's, maybe lasted longer than we thought at first. I'm like, I am going to really sort of spend my time finishing up old projects and writing some new things. Because I was complaining about writing, no time. And I'm like, if I don't do it now, I can't complain anymore. And I like to complain. So I've decided to, so I've really much spend the time writing. And the other thing that's actually taken up my time, which has been very enjoyable, was me and my partner adopted 2 new dogs sort of early on. So we have 2 dogs and a full-time writing career, and that's been keeping me busy and creative and happy.
What are the dogs' names?
There's names. They're a bonded pair, brother and sister. We had 2 dogs. We've always had dogs, but we had 2 dogs who were very elderly. One was a rescue we had recently rescued, and the other was my partner Derek's corgi, who was very old and creaky. And they both passed about a month before, like very soon, right before everything happened. So then we were suddenly like just the 2 of us, and we were alone, and we were like, let's get a dog. So I like the chaos of a couple dogs. So we got a Havanese, a pair of bonded Havanese. And they're just adorable. And one is named Vito, because we were watching The Godfather, after Vito Corleone. And they got called Lady Bellaston, but we call her Bella, after a character in the novel Tom Jones, which I've adapted into a musical featuring the music of Tom Jones, the singer, and set it in the swinging 60s. And it's going to debut in London. It was supposed to be this past September, but hopefully now this coming September. So Bella and Vito are 2 new dogs who are keeping us busy.
So Tom Jones, the singer from Wales, that
it's not unusual,
that they loved so much. So do you expect that at the London production, and eventually London, and then it will come here, right?
The theater gods smile on us, it will, but we're excited about that one,
So get prepared, of course, in case although in COVID, I don't know what will happen, but there might be a few knickers that they throw on the stage, as they call it, as was the case when he was doing his thing.
He did. I got to say, you look at those videos when he's in late 60s, early 70s, those tight bell bottoms, and he was just shaking it, and that voice was just like masculine and sexy, and just a great singer.
Well, let me know when it's here. Well, because I'd like to come and I
will
treat Mom. Mom has always been a huge fan. Yeah. All the records, the whole Johnny Mathis, Engelbert Humperdinck, all of Elvis, all of them, and you've tapped into Elvis as well. How did you first get started, my friend, as a kid growing up in the suburbs in New Jersey? What were the inspirations for you? Were there other writers and others in the family?
It was really I grew up in a little town called Oradell, New Jersey, which is right up the George Washington Bridge, about 20 minutes from here. And my dad was a businessman who commuted into New York. And actually, my dad is turning 90 in a few days.
Oh, wow. Do you have do you have a glass or a mug? Let's toast him.
Toast him. I do have a glass, yes.
What's his name? Is it Lou?
It is Lou, yes.
A toast to Lou, yeah.
90 years old.
90. God bless him.
So I was, I think part of like a middle-class Italian family, Italian-American, and this was in the 60s and 70s, was the idea was you expose your kids to culture. My grandparents, who were immigrants, always liked culture, and they always exposed us to it. So my folks would always take us to see a Broadway musical. And this was in the 70s. So I grew up seeing a lot of the great Broadway musicals of the time, like 1776 and Annie and The Wiz. And then my school took in, and I just, I'm such a big proponent of exposing kids to as much as you can, because you never know what's going to hit. And the first show I ever saw was 1776, the original cast on Broadway. And I was sitting there, and the lights came up on the Continental Congress, and I must have been about 10. And I don't know what happened, but I was done. Like, put a fork in me. I'm like, I'm going to be a part of this. I don't know how, I don't know what, but I'm going to do this. And they kept taking me to see shows. I'm sure I was bugging them to take me to see shows, and then school trips we would go in. And I saw great things and all sorts of things. And so theater was this like big foreign, you can only see it once a year.
No, I was going to say, it sounds like a very similar situation. The only thing separating us is that island of Manhattan. You were in New Jersey, I was out on Long Island, and a very similar situation where we would go into the city was right there. So the exposure to seeing bed knobs and broomsticks and just going to Radio City Music Hall and all the shows. And then when you were in school, a class trip to go into the city to see a Broadway play or what have you was like the norm. We were actually quite blessed to have exposure like that early. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, oh, absolutely. And, by Broadway, I mean, it's really any sort of theater, right? I mean, the great regional theaters in this country and all over the world, and community theaters. I mean, you can see so much. I've seen such great work on all.
The Long Wharf Theater you've worked, I know, with the Long Wharf in New Haven.
Long Wharf a lot. George Street in Jersey.
Goodspeed Opera House, Iverton Playhouse, Westport Country Playhouse. There's so many. Yeah.
So there's so many great ones. And, but as a kid, I was exposed to it.
Yeah.
So, and I loved it. It was basically like, if you can find something that you love, like just, you don't, it's not a chore to do it. I just wanted to figure it out. And I used to, at the time, I remember this is absolutely true. We had to write book reports on books, and it turns out our library had a section where they would get plays. And this was during the 70s. So the plays were very sort of racy, because they were exploring, sexuality and drugs, and very, the sort of post 60s, very modern sort of Equus, all those kinds of things. So I would go and I would read these plays that I had read about and heard about, and they were really gripping. And I could do a book report on a play, and it was much quicker to read a play than it was to read a book. So I would wind up like reading all of these plays because I love them, and then report on them. And I sort of was teaching myself maybe about dramatic structure without knowing it, but just because I loved it. So that's really how and then I had in the back of my crazy mind, I was young and stupid, and I thought I'm going to be a writer because I like to write. Like I think a lot of writers are naturally writing somehow. I always kept journals. I would write poetry, short stories when I was a kid, for school.
Did you do what we did?
So,
plays in the garage and plays with the neighborhood kids and plays for the family in the house?
I think I do that. I remember singing for my family when I was very young, which is not good because I can't really sing at all. But but I gotta say, my folks and my family and everyone was very encouraging because they're like, oh, great. I always liked, and then as I got older, I started, I studied English. I gravitated towards reading and novels and nonfiction and fiction and the classics and modern fiction. So I just always had a hunger and a curiosity about stories and storytelling and writing and narrative. And that's really how I started. And then I think because I had seen so many plays and read so many plays, when I was in my 20s and I really said, how could I be a writer? I started writing almost naturally because I had so much background in it. And that's really how I started. But I also say, when you're a writer, unlike being a lawyer or an accountant where you go to school and then you have to take a test and then then there's steps to do it. No one gives you permission to be a writer. You have to just do it because you want to do it. You think you have something to say. And I just sort of I call it the young and stupid phase of my life. I was young and stupid and I thought I can do this. So
what kind of material was calling your name? What kind of material were you starting to write and were you gravitating towards, Joe?
Well, I first I was writing, which was in retrospect, it wasn't planned. It was retrospect. I was writing like short sketches, and I'm a big political junkie. So I started writing these political sketches this was in the late 80s, probably, about the political atmosphere then. And I sort of hooked up in New York with a bunch of young people who were actors and directors. And we sort of put on these plays in these little basement cabarets that they have around the city. And essentially what you do is you put up these plays for a weekend and you have to invite all your friends to come see because they want to sell drinks to the audience. So that's how they make money and that's how you get produced. And it turns out it was a really good way to learn to write because sketches, you write a sketch and it's 3 pages long. And then the next week you write, 4 more 3-page sketches. So it wasn't a lot of like a play or something, which takes, months to come out of you. So it was a great way to write. And then I was writing political plays. But then at the time, all of my friends were talking about people I was working with and my friends, we're all in our 20s. We're all complaining about dating and what that was like in New York City and being young and single and trying to meet someone. And what does that mean? And so I started writing sketches about dating. And that's really, and the first time I put a sketch up about dating, which was at the West Bank Cafe, which is still there on 42nd. And there was just a big campaign to save it. And went through like Birdland. So, anyway, the West Bank had, I put up these sketches about dating and suddenly the audience was laughing like I never experienced when I was writing political, satire. So I thought, people want to see, stories about their lives, the universality of it. And that was sort of like the big question, the big thing that the big lesson that stuck in the back of my mind, like, these sketches are sort of hold a mirror up to people and they like it. They like to be explored and they like their foibles to be made fun of. And that was a great lesson that sort of has stuck with me forever, just from putting up these sketches, on my, with my own money in these little basement theaters.
What would you say from that point forward, Joe, were some of those doors that were being opened, some of those opportunities that were coming as a result of doing that and putting up your own money and doing those basement sketches? What would be like that linchpin moment for you when, wow, okay, people are paying attention. I'm starting to get noticed here. They're liking my work and these doors are starting to open in a positive forward direction.
Yeah, well, it was a slow build. Like I worked for a long time and no one cared. But as I said, young and stupid, thought I'm just going to go ahead. I just kept going because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing and I enjoyed being able to work with actors and directors and putting up the play. But I think probably what was really sort of an important moment for me was when a producer I knew, who was sort of very on the outskirts of the business, saw these sketches I wrote about dating and said, "Oh, this is a musical review. Put music in it." And I was I was smart enough to know at the time that, oh, these little sketches I'm writing aren't going to go beyond these basement theaters. In order to be a show, music might be a good idea. And I hadn't really seen musical reviews. I didn't really quite know what they were. So this producer hooked me up with a composer named Jimmy Roberts, who was a very talented.
He was on our show a few weeks ago.
Oh,
He's a wonderful guy and a class act. Yeah.
He's a class act and a really talented composer. And I'd given him these sketches, and he saw like a video. This was years ago, a videotape. And he said, I really like these. They're really good. You don't need to put music in them. And I was like, oh, you're my guy, because you don't think you really like them, and you're telling me not to do this. So I want you to teach me how to do this. And Jimmy said to me and I said I wanted to write the lyrics because I think they were funny sketches. And I said, oh, I want to make these funny. And I thought lyrics would be easy. Just write some lines and put them to music. And but Jimmy was very patient and sort of like directed me, read these these great lyricists of Larry Hart and Oscar Hammerstein and those old guys and some new guys. And I goes, I really let's really figure out how to do this and make these songs funny. And then Jimmy and I collaborated for a couple years, and that show eventually became my first show, I Love You, You're Perfect Now Change, which after some stops and goes wound up coming into New York and becoming a big off-Broadway hit. So that really changed my life forever.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about the show for folks maybe that haven't seen it, or the premise and all the good stuff.
It was basically a musical review about dating and marriage. And the first act is 4 people dating, and it's comic sketches with songs in them. And I call relationships God's best joke, because I think we need this. We have all this thing to connect with someone and stay with them. And then when you find that person, the difficulties and near impossibility of it are just overwhelming sometimes. So the first act is about meeting the person, and then the second act is about marriage and it goes all the way from couple honeymooning to having kids to divorce to widowhood. It sort of is the gamut. So it's and it's only 4 people, and they play, I think, 62 roles. So the part of the fun of it is they keep changing. It's very fast paced, and they keep changing. But Jimmy and I wrote it just because we liked it. We thought it was funny. We showed it to our friends. They thought it was funny. We got a producer. We played a couple places out of town, and it made its way to the West Side Theater on West 43rd Street. Beautiful off-Broadway theater in 1996. And I just thought, I'm just happy to have a show running in New York. I feel, and I thought at the time, as long as the show runs for 6 months, it'll make my next show easier. That's all I thought. That was my only hopes for it. And we put it up, and the audiences were laughing. That's all I knew. And they were laughing and applauding. And the show ran for 12 years, just there, and still plays all over the world right now.
Is that not unbelievable? I mean,
I always say any sort of form of success. I always tell this to aspiring writers. Any form of success seems, when you look back, seems like, of course it was a success, because you had only 4 people. It was about this, but really, at any point, any show that's successful, at any point, it could almost topple over if you make the wrong decision, if you get a bad break, So so it's just one of those things. We worked really hard on it, and we really tried to make it as delightful as we could.
Got a couple of others here. I want to go through some of these here. Over the River and Through the Woods. Tell us about that one. That's amazing too.
Yeah, that was sort of my follow-up, and that's a straight play. It's not a musical. And that's literally about my 4 Italian-American grandparents. And I grew up knowing all 4 of my grandparents. They lived in Cliffside Park, New Jersey, around the corner from each other. My parents were high school sweethearts. And so every Sunday we would go to their house for dinner. And they were, at least when I was young, they were very much larger than life.
Oh, sure.
Very Italian. Everyone talked at once. The food was great. They were just, everyone had an opinion. Everyone was in everyone's business. And I was a kid, and, they drove you nuts, right? Because you're a kid, and, you just wanted to be out playing, but you had to go to your grandparents. And they always seemed larger than life to me. And I thought, this is my first straight play without, not a musical. And I thought, I want to make these people as funny and as real as I can. And I want the play for them to start out larger than life and really fun and funny, like it is in Sunday dinners with them. But then I want, as the play goes on, I want to bring them down from a larger than life and really make them life size, which I think is something that we do as we age with our parents and our grandparents. They always seem larger than life when we're kids. And then, of course, you become an adult. You realize, I understand them now as adults. I understand why, all the things I laughed at are now things that I'm sort of dealing with. So that's that play. And it's really about, it's the most autobiographical thing I ever wrote. It's really about their grandson who has Sunday dinner with them every year. And he's grown up and he's in his 20s, and his parents have moved to Florida. The rest of the family's moved away except for him. And he comes one day and tells his grandparents he got this great job promotion, but it's in Seattle and he has to move across the country. And they scheme to figure out how to have him stay. Mm-hmm. So very much almost would call it my Neil Simon comedy. And it was just, really about my grandparents. And I wrote it. Unbelievable. And, I wrote it and ran 2 years Off-Broadway and has since played. I thought, Italians will get it. Jews will get it. No matter the culture, people get it. Has been translated in all sorts of languages, plays all over the world. I saw a photo recently of a Japanese production, with this little Japanese lady playing my little old Italian American grandmother. So it's just, it's just universal. It's universal. It's just the university. What I learned from my Love You Perfect Now Change is everyone has the same relationship problems.
Right.
And what I learned from Over the River and Through the Woods is everyone has the same family.
Mm-hmm.
Food. Like everyone has the same family who drives them nuts. And, you try to be a good son, you try to be a good sibling, whatever. But, you're put in with these people and you have to try to figure out how to, make a life there. And
they become characters in a play, which happens in a book. And that's cool. That's cool. And what was the reaction from the family when, they were being depicted on stage? They must have been.
That is such a good question. And 3 of them were living while it was
that's a blessing.
Running. So the first time they came to see it, I was probably as nervous as I've ever been before or since. From any big Broadway opening, I was more nervous because I had written a play about 3 people who hadn't even seen a lot of plays. And so can you imagine if I wrote a play about you, Jim, and I said, hey, come see this play about you, what you would think you're going to see, right? So I was...
Unless you title it Loveity, then we're good.
So Loveity, yeah. But, it's a play. It's a conflict. It's about people, having arguments and yelling and trying to work out problems in their lives. So anyway, I remember, I'll never forget this. It was the first theater played at this theater, then called the American Stage Company, which no longer exists, but it was in a little theater in New Jersey. And after the show, the audience leaves, and I'm waiting down by the stage. And my grandmother, who was elderly then and sort of losing her hearing, she sort of comes trudging down the aisle to me, and I saw her. And I said, so Nan, what'd you think? And she goes, Joseph, I couldn't really hear it, but I loved it. Okay.
That's what they would say. Exactly.
That's what she would say. And she really meant it. So I thought, oh, great. They're actually, And then my one grandmother came when it was running in New York. She'd seen it several times. And what she would do is after the show, she would stand out. This was absolutely true. She was, this 95-year-old tiny Italian lady. She would stand in the lobby and people would come out and she would say, so did you enjoy the play? And she would say, oh, yeah. She goes, that was me. And then they were like, be what? And then she would explain how I wrote the show about her. And then and I once went in the theater and this crowd was gathered around her and I was like worried. And she was just like, playing the belle of the ball.
I can relate to that because when I was on, I was one of the first times I was on television was on a commercial television station, but then I was doing some freelance work for public television. And I was doing one of these live segments on public television, and we had guests in the studio. It was WLIW 21 in New York, actually. And I was new in the career, and I was working in radio, working for the commercial TV station, and doing freelance for the public television station. And we got this call when I was on from the producers. We had sort of like a little production meeting in between segments that we were doing live. And in addition to doing the interviews, the celebrity interviews, we were also doing public television pledge drives too. So we were getting phones ringing, and we were doing all of that. So this was like the first day I was doing the assignment with the public television station way back. And the producer comes running in and saying, "Wow, Jim, we just got a call from this major appliance and television company in New York, and it was PC Richard and Son, and they have all of their televisions at all their stores on Channel 21, WLIW." And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Wow, that's cool. And they said, and they're watching you, and they love you. And I'm like, and again, this is one of the first times I was on. So you want to impress, I'm like, holy cow. I mean, where's this coming from? I mean, who did that? How did that happen? So at dinner, at the table with the family that night, I said, you know what happened when I was on? The producer came running in during our meeting and said they just got a call from this major television and appliance chain, electronics chain in New York, saying that they put WLIW Channel 21 on all their TV stations and all their locations in the tri-state area. That's amazing. So I looked down at my food, I look up, and I said, "Dad, did you have anything to do with that?" And he wouldn't admit. And he made a couple of calls because he was very involved with that company. And, and they're actually family friends of ours too, the owners and everything of the PC Richard family. So he made a call, and Dad had all of the channels.
Good old Dad.
Put on 21 because his son was on television. Yeah. And it was the same thing. By the way, that's my son. Oh, that's my son.
Yeah.
And when you get that from family, it's extraordinary, isn't it?
It's great. And I know people who their family isn't that supportive, or always looks on the bad side of things. So yeah, it's great.
So along the way, what are some of the things that have inspired you? Obviously, you're somebody who observes life. You love to be creative. You like to be responsive to things that you see. What are some of the things that inspire you to be ever the creator, Joe?
Well, I would say, and I say this, when I talk to students, I say this a lot. I think, like, as a writer, and certainly a writer for theater, I feel like you need a lifelong curiosity about life and people. And you're essentially a lifelong student. I mean, I've heard other writers say this too, is that I always feel like I'm constantly writing a term paper that's going to be graded, which are my plays, but it's not graded by one person. It's, first thing you see, it could be 1,000 people, it could be 500 people, it could be whatever. So I feel like I'm a lifelong student of the world and politics and history and psychology, and people around me and family and love and relationships. That's sort of what really inspires me. And I mean, I think, I have a big curiosity about a lot of things, and I love to do deep dives into subjects. I mean, some of the plays I've written, some of the musicals, Princess Diana, like, you have to I always say you have to be obsessed with your subject, because it's going to take you months to write it, if not years. And if that gets produced and goes on, it's going to be in your life for a long time. So you better really be interested in this subject. But there it is. And
what was the inspiration for this one?
I was reading must have been 4 years ago or now. I'm a big reader, as I said, of history and biography, and would have been just about the same age as Princess Diana, and I was always a big fan of hers. I didn't know all that much about her, but I knew the basics, and I certainly remember her being very affected when she held the AIDS baby.
Yes.
And when she shook the hand of an AIDS patient before anyone was doing that. So I always found her extremely kind and relatable. And obviously she had a life filled with wonderful things, but ultimately a tragic life. And then I happened just to be reading about her. And then I said, oh, that's really interesting. And then I read a biography of her. And in the middle of this biography, I was like, oh my gosh, she's a great idea for a musical, because I feel like we know the tragedy, but there's so much inspiring about who she was and what she did for the world that I want to write a musical focusing on that. And because she was a royal, it suddenly had this epic feel to it. And because she was in a love triangle that she wasn't aware of, that she sort of entered, she basically had a fairy tale idea of what marrying Prince Charles would be. And it turns out he was already in love with Camilla. It turns out it was a fraudulent fairy tale and she really didn't have a chance. So I just thought, God, it's a really great story that I'd love to tell, because I really just like her so much and appreciate all she did. And we musicalize it. So I just got obsessed with her, and that's how that started.
Do you think any of the royal family, I mean, is it going to be in London where they would have exposure?
Hopefully, yeah. We were literally just started on Broadway. We didn't even open yet.
Yeah.
When the pandemic shut us down. So
Right.
I think we'll be back maybe in the fall. Who knows?
Right.
But we also, an amazing thing that happens in the last 10 months for us was we filmed the show for Netflix. Netflix came in and
That's great.
We're aware of the show, and they do that show, The Crown, a lot of royal programming, and they thought, oh, this would be a really good, really fit in with what we're doing. So in September, me and the cast and the director went into a quarantine bubble for a month, and there was no audience, and we tore the seats out of the theater and brought all these huge cameras in, and we shot Diana as a filmed theatrical experience. So everyone around the world will be able to see it come. We literally, I think last week, they wrapped the editing. And so I believe it airs in around April.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. Do you find that to be the case with a lot of things? I noticed there is a migration a little bit, at least in the interim, of things, as opposed to things being just completely stopped and shut. They're finding creative ways virtually to get things into people's homes: music, television, film, movies, shows, plays.
You have to now. And, I really hand it to our producers of Diana, who really stepped up. And, at first, I don't know if you remember, but in March, everyone thought, oh, we're going to shut down for a couple months. Then by the summer, we'll be back. And then by the fall. And I think once they realized that it was, live theater was going to be shut down for the longest it ever has in modern times, our producers thought, oh my God, there's a new show. I think we have wide appeal. How do we get people to see this show? So they really were very innovative. They approached Netflix. Netflix had read the script, and Netflix hadn't seen it because barely anyone saw it because we had just started. So, but they read it and liked it and signed on. So yeah, no, I think this is a time of new media and creative media, and clearly there are people who really know how to do that and really know how to use that. I think what's interesting, I always felt this, and I do think when theater comes back, and it will, there's going to be such a hunger for the live experience. There's going to be such a hunger for people to leave their homes after being glued to their screens for over a year. So I think theater is always going to have a place, and a very special place in our lives. But, what new media is and how young people use media, and how, I'm sure people are watching on their phones right now, in ways that no one ever thought about before. So yeah, no, I think, and I love TikTok videos. I think some of the comedy on some of those are really short and just to the point. And there's some really good stuff out there. And what
are you on TikTok yet? I haven't got on there yet. People keep telling me, Jim, you're on everything else. Get on TikTok.
There's also there's so many networks and streaming platforms now. It's just
10 million.
So
yeah. It could be a blur. Yeah.
What's good now, like look, when I started, there were essentially, it was the beginning of cable TV, but there were really 3 networks. And if you wanted to write for television, you had to go to the West Coast, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to start in theater. And, you got your shows out by performing them live. Now, creators, like your viewers all over the world, anyone can get exposure for what they're doing. They can learn how to use the new media and stuff. And it could be short. I've seen, great series that, are 6 minutes each episode that people just make. So it's sort of the great equalizer in a certain way.
That's what it's become. Absolutely. We mentioned, and it's interesting, like for me too, dabbling in it, doing this with that traditional television, radio, stage, media background. It's a matter of blending both. And a lot of people have said things like, people even ask me, gee, will you stop doing this series or entertainment lifestyle talk show series when COVID ends or what have you? And I'm like, no, as long as people are out there and they're enjoying it and they're inspired and entertained and informed and maybe educated through what we're doing, I'll always find a way to do it while balancing the professional work. Why not? If you have people that follow and enjoy. We talked about this one earlier, that hilarious hit musical. Here's another one. We're going to sort of meander through the years a little bit here. This one, of course, another spectacular one. Tell us about Memphis.
I was approached by a producer. There was who had read about this. There was this disc jockey who lived in Memphis, and he was sort of the first shock jock. He was a white guy, and this was in the late 40s, early 50s, and he loved rhythm and blues. This was before rock and roll came about in 1955. And he really was a shock jock in the sense he would say crazy things. He would make characters up. And he started playing rhythm and blues, which was recorded by Black artists in the center of the radio dial in the late 40s, early 50s in the Deep South, which was not only controversial, but dangerous. And I had wanted to write about race in America because I think the story of America is a story of race. And I was looking to do something, and I was just approached about this story. And I said, a disc jockey. I never thought of that. A disc jockey is an interesting angle to approach that from, because he was a white guy who loved Black music and tried to expose it to the world. And what was also interesting about, and he was the first, it's not in the musical, he was the first person to put Elvis on the radio. And he was a real good old boy and had many addiction. He was sort of also like a lot of, I think, rebels and people who help move society along. They're oftentimes self-destructive in certain ways, and they're brave in certain ways, but sometimes they're reckless, and he was reckless. Yeah. And so it's sort of he was certainly he wasn't someone who changed the world, but he was one of the many people there who did it. Clearly, all the Black artists and a lot of things. But he really used whatever audience he had to play Black music. Anyway, so long story short, I was approached with this basics of the story, and I took it and ran with it and turned it into a musical where now he falls in love with a Black singer, like a sort of early Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, and he helps her, she helps him, and it's them both struggling with making it in a world where people see race so intensely. And so I wrote it, and I wrote a draft of it, and I wrote, it's about the birth of rock and roll. And I wanted to write with a real rocker, and I knew exactly 0 real rockers. So I gave it to my agent, and he goes, I know a rock and roll manager. Let me see if she's interested. And he sent it out, and wherever there's a black hole, wherever agents sent out scripts. And 2 months later, I get a call saying, "Hi, Joe. My name is David Bryan. I'm the keyboardist for Bon Jovi. And I just read your script for Memphis, and I want to know, how can I write the score?" And like rock stars don't call me every day. So I was like, you're who? You're what? What's going on?
And there's a great Jersey connection too.
And we're both Jersey boys. Yeah. So he sounded like a good guy, and we talked for a bit. And I said, I wrote dummy lyrics in the script. Pick a song that you relate to and send it to me, and we'll listen. And he goes, okay. And he sort of hangs up, and I think, a couple weeks from now, if he sends me something, it'll be interesting. And the very next day, there was a FedEx at my door. This was before MP3s, and it was a CD. And I put it in my CD player once, and he had taken a song from the script called The Music of My Soul, wrote music to it, and I listened to it once straight through, and I said, I hope he's not crazy, because he's the guy. So that's how we started our collaboration, and Memphis was our first show together.
That is amazing. That is fantastic. And that's great. Sometimes things just happen, without it even being scripted or planned, and some magical things happen. Have you had a lot of things like that happen in your
I've had
journey?
phone calls which change my life.
Yeah.
And some of it's chance. There are also things that don't happen. But I always find that the old, I love, as I've said, I love to write, and I think I work very hard in it. And I said, I'm a student of so many things. And I always try to get better at it. Mm-hmm. So if I think I've had any luck of people responding and coming into my life to work with me and really, helping me along, I think it's because of that. Some of it's definitely luck, but a lot of it is, the old persistence. But I'm like, persistence is great, but you need to also keep getting better, whatever that is.
Exactly.
You stay on like your first level, and you don't keep getting better. Persistence is not going to help you, but you persist. Right. And you keep challenging yourself, which I always try to do. Yeah. So that was but David calling me and us, like, who knew we would get along? Who knew Bon Jovi at the time? This was the 1990s, and their career was on the wane. And so he had time, and he wanted to explore other avenues for his music. And then we just got along. And then David really wanted to learn how to write musicals. And I'm a big rock and roll fan, and I wanted to bring more rock and roll to theater, which at the time there wasn't a lot of.
And you did it beautifully as well. And that's really cool. Again, there are a lot of people saying, oh, I love rock and roll. I love rock and roll. Something like June says, so true, Joe. And Christine says, Joe, I loved Memphis. Started in October of 2010 on my birthday. A fantastic show.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Merlin in Canada love rock and roll as well. And congratulations, of course, on all the success from Catherine. Here's another one too, because, like you said, you fine tune, you tweak, you keep moving forward, because if you don't, then you stay stuck and you don't really grow as a person. You don't go creatively. And then what happens is you literally get all shook up. So
this is my So this was my first show, Broadway show, and the producer of the music. I think the music publisher, someone's had seen my "I Love You, Perfect Now Change" Off-Broadway, and this was at the time that Mamma Mia, which is sort of the grandmother of the modern jukebox musical, had opened in London and was a big hit, and many of these estates of famous musicians were looking to take their music catalog and turn it into Broadway musicals. So I got a call saying, are you an Elvis fan? And I'm like, who's not an Elvis fan? And so I met with the people who run the Elvis Presley estate, and they were very nice. And they said, we want to do a show using Elvis songs, but we don't want it to be a biography of Elvis. We want it to be, because they felt like there were so many Elvis imitators out there and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I said, great. I said, I want to write like a musical comedy. I knew that Elvis's music almost seemed like magic to me. So, and you listen to those records, and I always say, like, Jailhouse Rock. Listen to Jailhouse Rock. That it sounds like he's going to jump out and sing that song on your living room floor from your stereo. I mean, it's really an amazing record with an amazing vocal. And I was like, how can I translate the magic of Elvis into a theatrical event? And then I thought, what else is magical? And I kept thinking, what are magical? The Shakespeare comedies, which they have a lot of magic and multiple weddings at the end. They're about people falling in love and the mysteries of love. So I sort of took the basic plot of Midsummer Night's Dream and Twelfth Night and a couple of others and mishmashed them all into this jukebox musical called All Shook Up, which I think was 2005 played Broadway and has since played, I've seen high school productions of it. I've seen foreign productions of it. It's done a lot, actually.
Absolutely. Here's another one, The Toxic Avenger.
Oh yeah, David and I were waiting for Memphis to come into town, and Memphis was a big Broadway show, and those shows always take longer, and they cost, I don't know, Memphis 10 years ago probably cost $8 million, so it'd be twice that now. Yeah. So, while the producers are raising money and all these things are happening, I wanted to do a show. David's funny, and most rockers aren't funny. So, and I'm, and I like to write comedy. So I was looking for sort of a small off-Broadway show that David and I could do that I thought we could get into New York quickly and play off-Broadway. And then this show, I got a call from a producer who knew Lloyd Kaufman, who's sort of the mad genius who did the original movie.
Oh God, yeah. He was on the show about 2 months ago, 3 months ago as well. Lloyd, he's terrific.
Yeah, he's he's
a real character. Yeah,
he's a real character. Yes, it's funny in life. He's sort of very just like a nice guy.
Yeah,
great Uncle Lloyd persona. But he, I saw his movie, and it's like not even a B movie, a C movie. And I said, and David and I got excited about it because I'm like, this is theater of the ridiculous. I wanted to do, basically, there's 5 people in our show. It's the nerdy guy who becomes the superhero Toxic Avenger who saves New Jersey, his blind girlfriend who doesn't know he's a mutant.
Yeah.
His mother, whose nagging mother who has a dual role as the evil mayor of the town who wants to destroy him, and 2 guys who play every other character in the town. So they play mad scientists and little old ladies and crazed mobs and all these characters. So it's theater.
This is a real departure in a way for you to take that on, huh?
Yeah, I think my work is pretty eclectic. I always consider myself comedy writer. I mean, I think there's always comedy no matter what I do. But as I try to keep expanding and challenging myself, and I like to do new things. But this was really fun. And Dave and I basically just sat in a room for 6 months and, told Jersey jokes, which we knew every one of them. And this little garage band rock and roll show. And honestly, we did the first presentation of it for friends and theater owners. And David Saint, who runs Street Playhouse, a great theater in New Jersey, saw it and said, I want to open the show. I want to put the show on my stage in the fall. And this was the spring, and shows never move that fast. So it was like, if my audience doesn't like it, I don't know my audience. And we opened there, and it was a big hit. And then it moved to Off-Broadway for a year. It played London. It's played all over the place. So yeah, it's just like a fun, wild, show.
That's fantastic.
And honestly, as global warming and climate change get more and more in the news, it's about that in a way.
It's sort of reality as much as it is. And here's another
thing about men. Yes, that is a great advertisement for it. That's a great logo for it. This was a show. This was Jimmy Roberts and I follow up to I Love You Perfect Now Change, about relationships based on a really fun German movie called Men that I had seen and fallen in love with. It's about relationships and 2 roommates. It's about a guy who essentially is a real Wall Street bigwig and is married, but he cheats on his wife all the time, a real sort of womanizer. And he comes at home one day and finds his wife has a hickey on her neck that he did not give her. And he freaks out, follows the wife to her lover. And turns out the lover is this bohemian who lives in this really downtown lousy apartment. He's an artist, has no money. And turns out he's looking for a roommate. So without revealing his identity, he moves in with the lover. And they sort of become friends kind of thing. So it's a sort of musical farce, which I wrote with Jimmy Roberts, which played off-Broadway and still plays, here and there. So
that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Again, yes, eclectic and variety, and that's what it's all about. Absolutely. Cool stuff. Here's another one. The Last
Oh,
Romance.
The Last Romance. Yeah, this play. This is like Over the River. I had the actress Marion Ross, who was Mrs. Cunningham on
Happy Days.
Was doing her and her partner Paul Michael, who was a wonderful actor. We're doing Over the River and Through the Woods out at the Old Globe in San Diego. And this was years ago. And she calls me up and she goes, "Hi, Joe, this is Marion Ross. And we're doing your play. And it's a wonderful production. And you have to come see it." And I thought, well, if Mrs. Cunningham tells you to go do something, you do something.
Then you go. Yeah.
So I hop on a plane. I go see it. She was great. Paul was great. And she goes, and then they wound up doing the show, several other theaters, and we became friends. And she's just like she is on the television, really warm and lovely and really just generous and a wonderful, wonderful stage actress. And so she said, "Could you write us a play for me and Paul to do? Because we'll do it at these theaters that we've done it in." And she goes, "There's so few good roles for older people." And I said, "Oh, okay. I really liked them and they were great on stage. But I thought it was actually sort of nerve wracking because I'd never written for people. And I thought, what if it's bad? What if I write you a play and it doesn't work or it's not funny?"
Yeah.
So it was sort of nerve wracking. And, but I thought, I like as a writer, any creative, you sort of, fear is it's a good motivator, but it's a bad thing to deter you. So I thought, I'm afraid of this, which means I'm going to work extra hard on it to really make it work. And then, so I wrote it for them and we did, I guess, a reading in her, she has a ranch called Happy Days Ranch because her Happy Days money brought this ranch out in Los Angeles. So we did a reading there with her. And I think Doris Roberts was in the first reading. It was an amazing cast and they were great and the play worked. And they wound up doing that play at 2 or 3 theaters. And it's since played all over the world. It tours Germany still. It's sort of done, what's nice when you have plays and certain types of plays, if they're really about the human condition and the human experience and they have appeal, they're funny, there's a worldwide market for them of all these theaters that do it. So I'm very fortunate that having had plays, go that route. And this is one of them that still gets done a lot there.
Absolutely. Creating Claire.
Oh, Creating Claire. Yeah. Wow. You did your research, Jim.
Yeah.
No, this was a play I wrote. I was always interested in this play played at George Street Playhouse with a wonderful cast. And I was always, I'd read this article about how people who didn't believe in evolution would go to natural history museums and these tour guides would be giving tours of the museum. And these anti-evolution people, anti-science people, what's in the news now, right? Science denial, would yell at all of these questions to these tour guides who were generally older volunteers just giving tours to groups and school groups and things. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting and infuriating. So this play becomes about someone who has this conversion, who goes from believing in science to not believing in science. So this was a drama, which was new for me, but it was very fun to do. And also, I think with writers and creators, like things stay with us. Yeah. And there was always a character in this play who was the woman who headed the museum, who was heading off the fights of these anti-science people. So what I did this summer, you asked what I, did in lockdown. I always thought there's this one character who's so rich and people always were fascinated by her. What if I spun her off? And I always wanted to write a monologue. And I think when theater comes back, they're going to be looking for smaller plays because they're trying to get their finances back going. So I wrote a play I took this one character and almost like the Marvel universe, I put her in her own world and did her, and I adjusted her story. And it's not quite this story, but it is that character. So, and that, got a great director for it now. I wrote it this summer. I was just that's also as a writer, as I say, no one gives you permission to write. I mean, I do some commissions, which is lovely, but I often find my best stuff is just me saying, I have this idea and I'm impassioned about this subject and I want to explore it. And that was something I kept, especially with all the science denialism that we have going on today. Like, how do you fight that? And what does that mean? And that's what this monologue I wrote is about.
So now we know what you did last summer.
Yes. Wasn't as sorted as the movie. But
That's the movie. But catch me if you can.
I did not write this.
No, huh?
No.
I like the legs.
I saw it.
Not that one, huh?
I did not write that one.
I bet you did this one.
Nice work. That's the one I did. Might have been the same season, you know. I think it might have been the same season.
It could.
It could have been. I did do this. My name is right on it. Yeah. So I'm a big old movie buff.
Yeah.
I love screwball comedies from the 30s and 40s. Huge. And I had gotten a call from the Gershwin estate, which had a big hit with Crazy for You, which they considered a dance show. And they said, that's a dance show, but the Gershwins also wrote a lot of farces in their days.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in taking one of their old farces, which admittedly scripts are creaky and of another time, and take whatever Gershwin songs you want and just make it sort of relevant and fun to modern audiences. So I did. I love Gershwin and I love this genre. So I said yes. And I remember being, when they approached me, I was like, look, I'm sure you're going to ask other people too, but trust me, I know this time period. I love this style.
Yeah.
I'm your guy. And I'm never that obnoxiously confident. I'm like, trust me, just let me do a draft. Don't ask anyone else. I'm your guy. I can make this work. And so I did. So I did a draft and we did a reading and it was funny. And then over the years, as it's being developed, one of the producers had worked with Matthew Broderick and he said, what do you think about Matthew for this? And I said, well, do you know him? I mean, how are you going to get Matthew Broderick? And Matthew at that point hadn't done a new musical since The Producers. So they called him and he did a reading and he was great. And he, came on board. And Kelli O'Hara, of course, co-starred with him. She was great. And no one was used to having her in a comedy. And it had a great supporting cast of Judy Kay and Michael McGraw and Chris Sullivan and just really great people in it who just knew the style of that. And it's just a big old farce about bootleggers and chorus girls and rich playboys of the era. And that still plays all over the place. And it's funny because one thing that has happened since COVID, as you can imagine, as a playwright, you look at royalties, right? So all of my royalties disappeared because live theater sort of dead. But I just got a royalty check from China for nice work if you think you can get it, because they're still doing shows there somewhere.
Things have sort of gotten better there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. It was like shocking that I was like, oh, yeah.
We've got a comment coming in from Todd in Hollywood, and Todd says, Joe,
yes,
I recall a very memorable scene from You're Perfect where the woman being taped for a personal ad reveals her true self and decides to leave it as is. Brilliant writing.
Oh, thank you, Todd. Yeah, it's called, when we wrote it in the 80s, it was called The Very Last Dating Video of Martha Mitz. And it's about a woman who decides to make a dating video. And those were big at the time, which were essentially, before you could do it on your computer, you would go into a dating service and you would tape 3 minutes of yourself saying why you should date me. And this is a woman who's been divorced and her husband left her for an older woman, which she was upset about. And she's just trying to figure out her life that has gone off kilter. And we wrote so many wildly outrageous and funny sketches. I said, I want to write a monologue for a woman who's going through this, who really, instead of, she's trying to do the right thing and say all the lovely things about herself and promote herself, but she's sort of humiliated by this. Mm-hmm. And she essentially breaks down in the middle of it, not in a sad way, but in a fun way, in a neurotic way, and can't do it, and just is stripped bare and says how she really feels, that she's humiliated and who she wants, and this is who she is and what she really says. So we want to do something more touching than that. And we've had great actresses play that. I've seen great actresses play that role over the years. So I'm really proud of it.
A couple of really nice comments coming in along the way here, Joe. Bernadette Vidal says, we love your work.
Bernadette.
Mona in New Orleans says, me too.
Thank you.
Kathleen in New York, so many shows, impressive career. Congratulations from Kathleen. And Christine in North Carolina says, Joe, I saw this fabulous and fun show. Nice work if you can get it. Soon after opening night, such an outstanding cast. I just loved it.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, no, that cast, I think both Michael McGraw and Judy Kay won supporting actor Tonys for their roles. They were just great. Yeah.
How does it make you feel when you get feedback from people who, you know, love the work, and either maybe they see you on the street or in the supermarket, or they write you or whatever it is, or maybe at an event they come across you and they pour out how much that particular piece of material or the entire collection of material has moved them in ways that has sometimes even become life-changing for them, because they reevaluated their lives. Maybe they're thinking about life and people in a different way, and they express this to you. How does that's the icing on the cake for all this work, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say it's more than the icing on the cake. I mean, I think it's sort of why you do it, and you hope your work reaches people like that. And you know, even a show like Nice Work If You Can Get It, which essentially is like, that show exists to make you laugh, right? Like I just want people to go in and like those great screwball comedies, forget about their lives for 2.5 hours. So, but yeah, you know, the nice thing about being a writer is you're pretty anonymous. You know, no one really recognizes you, even at the stage door when you leave your Broadway show. There are all these fans now, which is wonderful, you know, getting selfies and autographs with the actors. Well, I can generally walk right past and just sort of go on my way, because I'm the writer. So no one puts a face to you, which is fine. But what's really wonderful, because it's always surprising what people say to you, which is interesting. Like my show, Over the River and Through the Woods, it's about their grandparents. So especially when that show was running in New York, and I would go, you know, a couple times a week and check it out and stand in the back. And then sometimes I'd meet people or meet friends and friends. Like, as I said, I became an expert on people's grandparents, because everyone would tell me their grandparents, you know, so like it reaches, you know, you have to write something where it reaches you personally, but then if you've done your job or well, or whatever, the theater gods smile down on you, you reach other people in the same way. So it's really wonderful. And, you know, and you have to remember, there's nothing glamorous about being a writer. You spend most of your time isolated, you know, as I say, I spend most of my time writing arguments between fictional people who don't exist. Like that's what I do. That's what I spend most of my time at. So to actually get out and hear that people enjoyed it or moved is great. And I also am a big believer, as you said, I was a theater beast. I'm a big believer in the power of theater. And I just feel theater, because it's obviously what I always love about theater. It's so fake, right? Like, you know, they're doing the show 8 times a week. If someone gets punched on stage or killed or kissed, it's not real. It's all make believe. But if the show's good and you lose yourself, it seems real. I mean, I remember when I was a kid going to see those shows on Broadway, I was aware enough to remember, if I liked a show, there was a point about 15 or 20 minutes in where I would click into the show and I would forget I was watching a show. You know, and that doesn't happen to me in movies or television, even though I like movies and TV. That happens to me only in theater. So I think that also partly explains people's reaction to it.
I'm still stuck on the fact that the kissing isn't real.
No.
Quite convincing. Quite convincing.
I've had actors who haven't liked each other and had a kiss, and it's what happens.
Kind of like on the soap operas.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then the second Mrs. Wilson. This is something terrific as well. Tell us about this one.
I do hope the show comes into New York. It premiered at the Long Wharf in New Haven, a great theater. Went to
right.
this is a show about, as I said, I'm a history buff, and I was just reading, and this is a show about Woodrow Wilson's second wife, Edith Wilson. Woodrow Wilson's first wife, who he was deeply in love with, and the mother of his children, died while he was in office. I think she might have been the only first lady to die while he was in office, and he was devastated. He went into a dark place, and this was while the Great War, World War I, was burgeoning. So he literally had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he was very forlorn for a while. And he was sort of set up with this woman, the socialite, who was also a widow. And they, whatever chemistry they have, they hit it off. And he was president of the United States, and she was like a wealthy Washington widow. And they suddenly became inseparable. And the play is about the fact that Woodrow Wilson had a very severe stroke that was essentially hidden from the public while he was negotiating the Treaty of Versailles. And Edith, his wife, essentially kept him going and was one of the and controlled access to who saw him and who didn't. And she was one of the very few people who, in a way, she's known as the first female president because she sort of kept the country running. Yeah. And, as you can imagine, it's very controversial because she had no right to do that, and it kept him in power, and he sort of covered enough to play out his term. But and he was a very, multifaceted, controversial president, but he was a very influential president because he was president during World War I, and he did negotiate personally the Treaty of Versailles, which is which affected world, which had a lot of consequences. So but she was a fascinating character, and I wanted to write from her point of view a show, and it's about his wife and how she keeps power going, and then audiences at the end can debate, was that a good thing or a bad thing? If something happened to a current president and we didn't know how sick they were, people would go crazy. That's exactly what happened in 1920.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Art of Murder.
Art of Murder was this show plays all over the place. It's an old school murder mystery like Death Trap. I wrote it very early on. I love murder mysteries. And it's sort of based on the premise that an artist's work is much more valuable after they die.
Yeah.
So it's basically one of those one set, 4 character. What if there's this crazy manipulative artist and he's abusive, and his wife decides to kill him because his paintings would be worth more after he dies. And that's what it's sort of about. Yeah. I can't say much more.
No, much more. I gotta go see. Yeah. That's fun.
It's a fun, like, Death Trap thriller kind of thing.
And there's another one. We're just sprinkling some of them in here. Clever Little Lies.
Little Lies. Yeah. That played off-Broadway at the same theater I Love You played. I wrote a play which was essentially a marital 4-person comedy about infidelity and how it's sort of about a mother. It's about a grown son who confesses an infidelity to his father, and he tells his father, whatever you do, don't tell mom. And he goes home, and the mother knows something's wrong and drags it out of the husband. And then the mother invites the son and daughter-in-law over without being able to tell them what happened. And it's essentially a one-act comedy about how she tries to save her son's marriage. And it starred the great Marlo Thomas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Great. And I saw that one. And I would, and there's so many. Do you have personal favorites? Do you have, like, this is the one that is nearest and dearest to my heart, or not necessarily? Because I know these are like babies too. These are like children. Yeah. And I've asked this of authors, writers, people who create things, when there's characters in them and what have you, even a piece of music, you nurture it, you fertilize it, you care for it, you help it grow, and you expand and change and tweak. And with all of that, you get so emotionally and personally wrapped up and connected to it. Do you see them almost as if like they are your babies, your child, every single one?
You do birth them. You sort of the metaphor of like birthing them, and then once it's given over to directors and actors and designers, you hope the baby grows up and walks on its own. And once especially once, when you originate a show and you start like working with Clever Little Lies and Marlo Thomas, Greg Maleve, a wonderful actor, a great cast, you hope that they embody the show. And then, memorize your words, and they ask you questions about why you wrote a line, and they have suggestions, but you hope that they embody the words. And you realize there's always a point where the show opens and I go away, and then the show's playing every night, 8 times a week. And then you come back. If it's an extended run, like usually New York is, you come back 3 weeks later, and you're like, I always think, it's not my show anymore. It's their show. It's the actor's show. They know the ins and outs of every moment. They know how the audience responds, when the audience responds, when they don't. They've sort of made it their own. It's my word, but they've made it their own. And then I always feel like, they've gone to college to kill a metaphor. I'm just killing your metaphor, Jim. They've gone to college. They've grown up. They don't need me anymore. I'm just going to come and wait in the back once in a while and wonder why they don't call me. So,
But then they do take care of you later when you get a residual from China.
They do. Yeah, they do take care of daddy when he gets older. That's true. It's true. But it's I will say I don't have favorites, but I do have moments almost in every show that I'm really proud of. And sometimes it's like just a really good joke, or sometimes it's a moment. There's a couple of moments, and there's 2 moments in Memphis. One's a violent moment, but one's a slap, and one's just where the mother breaks a record, and the audience gasps because they're so shocked at those, because they're just built. And I'm like, that's and no matter if there's 10 people in the audience or 1,500, like it's always the same reaction. And those moments I'm very proud of.
What's the writing process like when you have an idea for a production, for a play? What are some of the early processes like for the viewers watching who are like, I wonder what it's like to be a playwright, to be somebody that does this work? And can it take years from that germ of the idea until it is on stage for everybody to see?
Yeah, well, it almost always takes years. I mean, I've had some, like, I think my show Diana, I say some shows you write and then the doors open for you quickly. And Diana was just, I wrote it, gave it a producer. We did a presentation of it. More producers came on. We did another piece, more producers, that like the doors opened, and that still took 4 years. Memphis, on the other hand, which was one of my first shows, that took 9 years from its first production to Broadway. And that was like a show, it's not based on a movie. We didn't have stars. It's not, it's a joyous experience, but it's not, a light comedy. So I call that's a pushing the rock up the hill every time, and you just believe in it. You just believe in it. And, you've seen it in front of audiences. You've seen that reaction. And for all of the obstacles in that show, at every obstacle imaginable, you just have blind faith and keep pushing it forward. But like in turn, there are 2 ways. One, if it's a play, a subject you have to research, like Diana, the first thing I do, or second Mrs. Wilson, first thing I do is research. And then I throw all the research away and just write the play. Okay, I know everything that happened to Diana. I think I know the point of view. I'm going to throw it all away because otherwise the research will crush your skull.
It becomes too overwhelming.
Yeah, but no, wait, that's right. It's like, write the play, write the human story, write the narrative through line. But if I'm doing an original story, like Clever Little Lies, Nice Work If You Can Get It, which I had to do Gershwin research for that. But a couple things I have coming up, then you just basically have to sit down and write it, get words on paper. I think there's always, I call it the little critic in everyone's head, which is, and I've talked to writers, much more brilliant than me, and they have the same thing. It's like you always have that doubt. Like before you write, you're always like, I'm not good enough. It's just too hard. Other people will do this better. And you just basically have to put words on paper or, letters in your computer. I mean, I didn't at first, but the older I've gotten, I outline a lot now. I'm working on a project now. I'm doing an intense, probably be a 40-page outline for a musical, which I'll spend 2 or 3 months on. And then once I have that outline, I'll write it very quickly from there. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
It's a different process, but get it. Don't get stuck in your head and don't get stuck with doubts because everyone has it.
The work of a lyricist as well. Tell us about that part of what you do. What a brilliant playwright, author, but the lyricist part, that brings you great joy and blessing too, doesn't it?
You know what? I love music. I love musicals, all types of musicals, serious. I love little weird art musicals. I love big commercial, I'm going to make you laugh and have a good time musicals. And, I always say like musicals are like the most complicated art form out there because so many elements have to come together. It's like the story, the music, the lyrics, the choreography, the design, like everything needs to come together in a musical in a way, whereas a play, it's harder to ruin. You can ruin a musical with bad choreography. So everything has to come together. So they're really hard to do. But I started writing lyrics with for Love You Perfect Not Change, and Jimmy Roberts was really sort of mentored me on that because I had written the story and the sketches, and I thought that's my voice. And I want big jokes in these songs because songs don't often have jokes in them. So I basically, through Jimmy's guidance and teaching myself, learned how to write lyrics. And then I've never written just lyrics for a show. And I've gotten a couple offers. Would you just write lyrics for us and not the story? And I'm like, I'm actually a playwright and a story guy first. So when I write a lyric, if you told me right now, if you said, Joe, write a love song, I'd be, I don't know what to do. But if I can write, Princess Diana meets Prince Charles, and this is what she's feeling now, and this is what he's feeling, and this is the language that they use that I can do, and so that's sort of something I love to do.
How do you know it's like writing a book? Same thing. I mean, when you are writing a play or even a book, for you, as far as that writing process, is it hard to put the first few words on paper to know where to begin, or do you find it hard or harder to know when to put the period on the last sentence and say, okay, I'm done. I can walk away from it. It's done. Not that you don't go back multiple times and add to it or subtract from it, rewrite it, tweak it, play it off other people, get some ideas. But when do you know when you are done and it's where you want it to be, where now you can take it to the next steps?
In many ways, having a lot of experience, which I just do now in my life on it, it's the most sometimes experience for a writer, because sometimes you just want to do it instinctually without thinking about it and getting stuck in your head. And the more you write, it's easier to get stuck in your head. So that's not the good thing about experience. But the good thing about experience is I'm at a point where I have worked something so much, and it's generally when I start thinking like, should this word be but or yet? And then I'm like, no, if that's what you're focused on, put it down and start the process. I give it to certain people, to my agent, to my partner, another person or two to read, or sometimes I'll read it out loud to them to sort of really figure out if it's, and get notes, basically get their thoughts. So that's helpful. But it's really when I've gotten to the point where I'm on minuscule things about it now that I'm like, put it down, move on, and move on to something else and give it to a couple people to read. Is where I think I do that. But it's hard, it's not a science, it's an art. There's no right, there's no right or wrong answers. Yeah, and the one thing which I really like to do is give myself distance, is to like do a draft for 3 or 4 months or an outline, put it down for a month or two, go on to something else, try to forget about it as much as you can. and then reapproach it because I've always forgotten things. And then I can really say, oh, this, which seems so sensible in the first draft, really is not. I need to really go deeper.
How about movies, films? Do you have a little tickle for that?
Well, I've been very fortunate to have been able to make my career the last 25 years in theater, which I love and sort of where I live. I've certainly sold a couple screenplays of my life. Memphis, I sold a screenplay of that movie. Miss Diana, it's a filming of the play, but it's essentially a film. We've gotten offers to sell to movies. And I did just write a screenplay in the last 10 months because my agent said, since theater is down, you should expand your portfolio. So I did do that. And I love movies, especially, but I love like older movies. As my boyfriend's like, if it's in black and white, I'm happy. So I have done a screenplay, yes, and it's gone out to where screenplays go, and I hear the reaction is good, but who knows?
Somebody asked, "What's your favorite musical?" But I would imagine that that's probably a difficult. Is it difficult?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think my favorite, I would just say, because of when I saw it, is still probably 1776, because it's the first show I saw, for at least first Broadway show I saw. I'm sure I saw local shows before that. And to this day, I think that musical, I think it's got probably the best, if not one of the best scripts to it. Just the story. There's 20 minutes into, and the movie, they did a really good movie version with the original Broadway cast, where they essentially took that musical and put it into colonial time, sets and things. So if you're interested in that musical, rent that movie because it's really good. And I sort of, just because I have a sentimental place in my heart for that, and I love the music, and I can see that, I can go see that any production anywhere, and I'm happy. So I'm going to say 1776.
Good choice. Good choice. What would you say to somebody who's watching, Joe, who's considering entering that line of work, being a playwright, lyricist, author, just getting into the creative arts? Because I know you mentioned a little bit earlier that you do teaching. Tell us a little bit about that and some of the things that you and how you inspire young minds who are up and coming in these industries.
The thing about writing is a lot of people talk about being a writer, but you have to write. You have to get words, and there's no substitute for experience, and there's no substitute for developing your voice and finding your voice. So the two things I went to students, I say, get the best education you can possibly get. As I said earlier on, you have to be an expert in narrative, storytelling, history, politics, psychology, the gamut. If you're interested in plays, see plays, read novels, read poetry, listen to music, listen to lyrics, like just digest as much as you can, and then figure out what you want to write about. Is it your life? Is it someone else's life? But get words down on paper and then also share it with people. I'm a big believer in reading your things out loud to people. I'm a big believer in getting it around. And there's no magic bullet for writing. As I said, get a degree. What's wonderful about writing is you could do it at any age. Older people have a lot to say about lives that younger people don't have.
Right.
I can almost read a play and tell you if it's someone 35 or under or older based on what they're writing about and how they're writing about it. So I just think anyone can do it at any age. And you have to dive in. You really have to dive in.
So how has it changed too over the years? How like anything, industries change and the way the process works changes along with it. How have you seen it change?
Well, the two big changes in at least in New York theater. One is that Off-Broadway, which used to signify edgy and cool and hip, and you can make money at, I started Off-Broadway. Let Me Perfect Now Change ran in a 300-seat theater for 12 years. and you can there was commercial people on it. That world has not entirely, but largely disappeared, which is a shame because there are a lot of great shows that started there, and there are a lot of great, people learn their craft. I learned my craft off Broadway. It's very different when your show is financed at $400,000 versus $10 million. There's a lot less pressure. There's a lot less nervous producers in the back of the theater pacing. So that's changed just because Broadway's become so popular that and some shows that years ago would have gone off Broadway suddenly went to Broadway and became hits. So now you'll see small shows off. Avenue Q was a quintessential off-Broadway show, moved to Broadway. Everyone thought it was a bad idea, became a big hit. And now shows go to Broadway and then they go to off-Broadway.
Yeah.
So that never happened. So that's all changed. So that market's sort of gone, which is too bad. They're still not-for-profit, which are sort of theater, regional theaters that curate their seasons. But those shows don't run. Those shows run 6 weeks generally, and sometimes they go to Broadway. But they don't. Those shows the popular shows used to move to off Broadway for a commercial run from those theaters, and that rarely happens anymore. So that's one way that's changed. And the other way is the American musical used to be entirely original songs. Like there'd be one musical once in a while, which had old songs in it. But since really Mamma Mia in 2001 came, half the musicals now are jukebox musicals, and I write jukebox musicals, so I love them, but they have unoriginal scores in them.
How do you feel about some of the productions happening live on television like NBC has done and Fox has done?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, exposes kids. I know you have a worldwide audience. People can see things from all over the world. I mean, I think that during the pandemic, I saw some shows from London that they were releasing tapes of some shows from regional theaters. From Andrew Lloyd Webber released a bunch of shows I never would have seen, and I saw really good productions of them that were really good. So, and they, I look on the YouTube and they have hundreds of thousands of viewers. So I think it's great. Nothing will ever replace the live experience, but having there's no, like when we had the opportunity to film Diana on stage, we jumped at it.
Yeah.
Because and that's going to live forever now, right? Yeah. So that's going to live forever, and those performances will live forever. So I think it's great, and they're hard to do. They're hard to do live, but when they do and they work, they're great.
Mona in Louisiana says, I saw your show. I love you. You're perfect. Now change. When I went to New York City, great show. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That's a fun one. And we updated that recently too, because we just updated it because it was 20 years. It was his 20-year anniversary. So we Jimmy and I put in a couple new songs, a couple new sketches, and changed some references. Yeah.
What are some other things that might be upcoming for you, Joe, that you're able to share, that things that maybe you're working on or things that are on, maybe you're not even working on it yet, but there are things that are on your bucket list that you definitely have your eyes set on doing within the career?
Yeah. The things I have coming up, one is my Tom Jones show called What's New Pussycat, which I mentioned before, and that is supposed to premiere outside of London in Leeds, a big theater in Leeds, which is about 3 hours from London, and then go to London season. So knock wood.
Good luck with that. Yeah,
it's a really fun, sexy, swinging 60s show using Tom's music and based on the great novel Tom Jones by Henry Fielding. So there's
Who's playing Tom?
Good question, Jim. I don't know yet. We had an actor, but then the pandemic happened, so now everyone's scheduled. Yeah, it's all different. So but it's a hard thing, and it's not. It's even though he sings a song and the character now Tom Jones, I did not know this, took his name from the 1963 movie based on the book Tom Jones. So there was a famous 1963.
Yeah. I didn't realize he did.
I didn't know that either. And that's actually what gave me the idea for this. But it started Albert Finney. It's essentially like a bawdy sex farce about class and things. Great movie. And he was coming up then, and his manager said, "You need a sexier name." And his name was, I think, Tommy Woodward. And so he took it from the movie. So when I found that out is when I got the idea to take the novel that the movie was based on and insert him. So even though the character is called Tom Jones, it's not based on his life, but he sings a song, and I say it's the Tom Jones you want to see. It's the guy who you imagine he is. But of course, yeah.
Is Tom aware of it? Is he?
Tom is one of the producers. Yes, he's seen it. He saw.
He's one of the producers. Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. Him and his son. So yeah. And by the way, I saw him. He was touring the States a couple of years ago. I think he's 80. He was that voice, unbelievable. Sang these blues songs, just fantastic.
Tina says that sounds like it's going to be a terrific musical. Looking forward to it.
Really fun, and those great swinging 60s. It takes place in Maud, London. So where I did it. So
Kathleen hopes Broadway comes back. The shows come back stronger than ever. Hopefully sooner. Like you said, people are probably going to be, because they're so pent up.
Oh yeah.
Desirous to just get out and go see everything. Christine says your new show with Tom Jones sounds really interesting and wonderful. So happy you're still writing shows. Do you ever have a writer's block? Do you have a moment where you're just so overwhelmed with writing, where you need to break away from it, get a reboot, a refresh, step away, and then come back with a new clean slate? And how do you go about doing that, Joe?
I don't quite get, I would say, traditional writer's block. At least I've never had. Maybe tonight. But maybe I've been now that I'm thinking about it, I should.
Yeah.
What I do is if it's a certain project I'm stuck, which happens often, one thing I always tell writers: put it down, do something else, go for a walk. It's funny. Writers will always often tell you, the creative people, sometimes you take a shower and it's just getting out of your mind, because you can
just washes right off
your head, just like. It's just getting out of your head and into your body. I run, I play tennis. I have 2 dogs who are, take them for a walk. Just like getting out of this and then, coming back to it. Or sometimes it's also, if you're really blocked or stuck on something, it's putting it away and moving on to something else and then coming back to it, trying to get a fresh perspective, but also giving it to people. I'm not sure about this. Can you read it and tell me what you think? And I always batter my friends into being mean. Like, don't be nice. Like, I know you love me and I know you love my work, but I want you to be like the worst critic who would be sitting in the 3rd row center on this. And they're never that mean, but I try. Yeah. But then they're usually helpful, because oftentimes you write, when you write something, anyone who writes knows, you think, this is what this is. This is this. Then you give it to someone else. They're like, oh no, the show isn't about that. It's about this.
Right.
And that's the stuff that's really interesting that you want to hear.
Bouncing the ideas off other people can be really rewarding. I went to, actually June invited me and others, and we went to the writers' colony that Goodspeed Musicals does in Connecticut. And you stay sort of in your own little house type thing, condo thing. And then everybody gets together several days during that period, and they sort of act out, perform, pitch what it is they're doing, and they start, song and dance, whatever it is, and everybody starts to give their suggestions. And maybe if you tweak it here, if you do you do a lot of that where people are, and that was really cool. They do that in Connecticut, right across from the Goodspeed Opera House. Really a wonderful experience to go to that writers' colony. I learned a lot too, and just witnessing what I was witnessing. Do you participate in those types of things and do that kind of thing yourself? Yeah.
I tried to do that with our show, Diana. We went to something called New York Stage and Film, which is this great developmental place. Hamilton started there. A lot of shows go there, a lot of plays, a lot of musicals. And it's it's in Poughkeepsie on the campus of Vassar, of course, Vassar. And it's in the summer, and you're there for a week or two, and you work on your musical and your show while other creative people are working on their musicals and their shows. And then there's like 100 people come in to see your show 3 times. And they're generally people in the neighborhood who subscribe to it and see all these, shows in embryonic stages. And it's a great way to just do it without the financial pressure on. And there's no sets or costumes. So it's just about words and music and performance. Yeah, no, I always, I love being around creative people. I sometimes, when I'm doing a show, I'm the only writer in the room really. And I love being around other writers. But it's hard in theater because you're generally the only writer on a show. So when those opportunities exist, I jump at them just to be around other writers.
What was the feeling like when you got that first Tony? I mean, you've got
two. Yeah. One night. Yes.
Yeah.
It was childhood dreams come true, right? Like you sort of think in the back of your head, oh, this would be fun to do. And then you've had some success on where here or there. Like, oh, it'd be great if I somehow, finally win. And when you have, like any like awards thing, it's the right show, the right year against the right competition. And, Broadway really is for some reason, a community, whatever reason. I think I know people when they go to Hollywood, there's sometimes a community, but they feel very competitive and very isolated. But Broadway, Broadway is only a square mile and people go from show to show. So, everyone. I knew the people I was up against. I knew, the people, the actors in the shows, I'd worked with a lot of them. There were some of them are my friends. So there's a really great communal feeling about the Tony Awards. But like when we, I think we were the first 3 awards given. And so David and I, Brian and I just sat down and the first award was for best orchestrations and David won. And I was just sitting there like, it was surreal. I was like, David, who I've been working with for 9 years, just won a Tony. It was just like, couldn't believe it. It was just weird. It wasn't computing. And then I think next was best score, which we shared and I won. And
is that this shot here?
Yeah, that's David Bryan with the 2. And this was before, and this was afterwards. And then the next category after that was best book. That's Sue Frost and Randy Adams are great producers who took a total chance on us. And then, when we went in, and then David and I, at the first 5 minutes of the show, before we knew what was going on, we were backstage, each holding 2 Tonys, looking at each other saying, yeah, what's going on? What's going on here? So it was really fun. And as I like to say, the most interesting thing about the Tonys, besides being this, very memorable night, was the next day I wasn't a better writer, but everyone thought I was.
Is that not amazing?
And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So it opened opportunities. It opened people to work with. It was a really good thing.
Yeah. And again, continued congratulations on that. And Kathy Short in Cleveland, Ohio. I love the idea of a show with Tom Jones. So that's Tina's.
Without the pandemic, we would have.
It would be
on the West End right now and planning our American debut. But it's an American producer, so it is planning to come here when the world opens up.
That's it. Well, definitely keep me posted on all these exciting things. And I think this is just terrific. And obviously, you love what you do, and you're prolific at presenting not only material that gets us to think, whether it's comedic or dramatic, but material that really enhances us and gives us opportunities to escape from sometimes the realities of life, and then sometimes handle and work through the realities of life through some of the other stories and some of the other performances and presentations. Kathy saying congratulations. That's such an honor, of course, on the many awards that you've won. You know who else definitely sends congratulations for all of the wonderful work is this gentleman right here, who is one of our cast of characters, George Burns. George Burns.
There you go, George.
He sends you his best with his cigar and all. This has been terrific, Joe. I appreciate it. Would you believe we've chatted for almost 2 hours?
Is it really? Wow.
It never feels like that, does it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
The questions and seeing the comments.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And again, we just really scratched the surface of a long and brilliant career, Joe. And it's a real honor, a pleasure to have you here. Before we go, as I mentioned, you know how our viewers, like the loveity viewers from around the world, like to know the room, kind of like person to person with Edward the room that you're in. And somebody asked, I think it's Merlin in Canada asked, there's a picture behind you, and it looks like it's heads. Is it women or right up above? There's like all of these faces on the other side.
On the other,
Yeah, there.
the other,
There. There, and it's right behind you.
I should just do like this, like that.
Yeah, the other wall.
The other wall. Oh,
Behind you. See, there's like these faces.
right
Yes.
there.
They were asking what that is, who's in that. I guess they've seen
You know,
it.
that is my show, which you mentioned, Over the River and Through the Woods. And this is from Japan. You get it? Whoops. I got to hang that up again. And this is a Japanese cast, I believe. Must be. And these four played my grandparents. And these are, that would be me and the girl I was set up with in this fictional world.
Tell us about some of the other cool things. And what is the room that you're in?
This is my office in New York City. So, and basically, this wall has a bunch of show posters from over the years. And when I first started out, you think, oh, I don't know if I'm going to, you get shows, you think like, I don't know how many shows I'm going to have. So every time I had a show, I took the poster, and some of them were actually like ripped off the walls of outside because they didn't have a poster for me. So I would like take it like, basically go out to the outside and rip it off a wall. So so that's all that. And there's going to be a light there, but if you can see where the light is blocking, I sort of built bookshelves because I have so many books, and that would face now. Yeah. So right about there. No. This side, that's goes out into West 96th Street where I live, and that's the bunch of posters. So I'm sort of surrounded by posters, and I painted the room red because I wanted a atypical creative color. So I feel like I'm in this red cocoon here with my books and past work. Always looking.
Very nice. Very nice. I love it. I love it. And I like the way you have everything laid out. And again, it's a wonderful shrine to some of the incredible work. And it's anytime you say, gee, I want to look back at this, want to look back at that, you've got it all surrounding you. That's awesome. Really nicely done.
I keep my work all in the office. Like I don't, once you get into like the kitchen and the living room, I'm just like, I want to keep it all separate. So when I come in here, I can focus, and then I can have a life outside because I can get obsessive about things. So,
and have it all over the coffee table and in the bedroom and everywhere else. And
always thinking about, like you need to get away from it too.
Not that any of us have ever done that, but I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. A couple of comments coming in. Maureen says, your very own Hall of Fame, fantastic. I agree. And Kathleen Walker says, the chair. They want to see the chair you're sitting in. Well, he didn't have to leave. He didn't have to recharge his computer or get a glass of water.
Okay. Well, I will say, and let me tell you about this chair because we live.
You're going to get to see the chair gang.
Yeah, we live like, I even have a little story about the chair. Hopefully it's interesting. There's a Home Goods, I don't know, 3 blocks from us. And we were looking at all these and I love Home Goods, and they're looking at all these expensive chairs online and in Crate and Barrel. And then I go to Home Goods one day, and they have like the perfect chair. So this chair was like nothing for considering what it was. And I rolled it, they don't deliver. So I rolled it like 4 blocks here, and I couldn't be happier with it. And there is, sorry, I'm bad with this. There is the chair. Home Goods, I think it was like $199, which is great, and it's super comfortable.
See, that's it. I tell you, it's really amazing, the collection of chairs. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your stories and your time. From Bernadette. She also says can't wait for Broadway to open. Willie in Holland says good night, and where it's about, what is it about? Oh my God. It's almost 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. where she is. That's a loyal
Yeah.
a loyal viewer.
I'm a late night person too. So there you go.
Kathy in Cleveland says, I love the red walls. Like her. She loves it.
Yep.
Kathleen says, thank you for showing the chair. Mona in New Orleans says, thank you so much for being here with us. Joe, very interesting. So nice to meet you. Now you are a loveity.
There you go.
Kathleen Walker, thanks for an interesting conversation. Juanita, still with us, where it's really late at night. It's the next day in South Africa. What a great conversation. Thanks, Joe, for sharing your time and fantastic career with us. Maureen says, what a spectacular career you've had. More coming in here from our loveities. Of course, our dear friend June, looking forward to your new shows. And really nice. And Gary, who's in Iowa, says, thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, and stay safe and stay well.
Yes, trying.
That's it. Well, this was terrific, and I certainly hope the show met whatever expectations you had, Joe, and you enjoyed your time with me as much as I definitely have with you.
Great. I enjoyed it very much, Jim. It was nice seeing you and hearing all the great chats.
Yeah, well, you stay well and keep creating, and let's stay in touch, because when you get Tom Jones and other things going, I'd love to hear about that. And you are more than welcome back on the show at any time, my friend.
Appreciate that.
Tina says, thank you for showing us the chair and sharing all your stories with us.
It's so important, you know, like
cheers.
When you sit, you know, when you're a writer, you sit in a chair a long time. So it needs to, yeah.
That's it. I collect chairs too. And we can talk about this on another show probably, but I tend to humanize inanimate objects. I don't know if you do, but I can almost think of human qualities in the chair itself. Do you ever do any of that? Do you ever?
I have not done that with a chair, I don't think.
You've done it with other things?
I've done it with my dogs. I feel like they're about to talk to me at any moment.
That's it. I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. Kathy Short says, a great chat tonight. Thank you, Joe, for sharing so much with us. Christine Clifton in North Carolina, thanks for spending the evening with us, sharing your career and life with us. I enjoy your work. I've seen many of your shows over the years. Hope to see more of your shows once the curtain can rise and fall again. Such an interesting conversation.
Oh, good.
Thanks, my friend. You take care. Thanks for all the time.
All right.
We'll see you again soon, okay? Good night. What a great conversation, I tell you. And you learn something new also about the writing process too, and how a play is put together and the extraordinary work that he's responsible for. Just a quick little review here. This was just some of the incredible work he's known for: Broadway, off-Broadway, nationwide, international. You, of course, maybe have seen some of these. And of course, the one on Diana sounds really, really good. I hope that does well in London eventually once things open up, and we get to see it here in the States as well. These are just some of his incredible works. And maybe you've seen some of them or all of them. I know some people really do. There's Diana that he was talking about. And of course, this with Matthew Broderick and Kelli O'Hara. This is just, we just really scratched the surface of some of his work, but these are some of the big ones that most people would recognize. Nice work if you can get it. Musical comedy. And of course, this one that he was talking about, been working on, The Second Mrs. Wilson, and Clever Little Lies, of course, a comedy of Sex, Love, and Secrets. Marlo Thomas starred in that one. And we talked about his winning the 2 Tonys, and of course, a bevy of other, the Outer Critics Circle Awards and so many others. Real pleasure having him as a guest on the show. 2-time Tony winning playwright, lyricist, and author, Joe DiPietro, live from New York City. And he gave us a little inside look as well at his home office. And you even got a chance to see the chair. How many times on our show do we end up seeing the chairs that the guests are sitting in because they have to dash off for a quick moment? The battery dies on their computer or phone. They got to plug this in, plug that. They got to get a drink of water. They got to walk the dog. A kid runs in and they got to take care of that or whatever. he just freely showed you the chair. So I know Kathleen in New York City is happy, and so many others are happy as well. And I hope you guys, you always get a lot of loveity and some surprises and bonuses on the Jim Masters show here as well. Tomorrow, actor Eric Tucker is going to be with us. Actor and director Eric Tucker. He's extraordinary. He's going to be with us tomorrow. We're looking forward to that. And then we've got a bevy of incredible guests coming up. Julie Budd, brilliant actress and singer, is going to be with us on Thursday. Wednesday, we're not going to be here. We're taking Wednesday off. It is the presidential inauguration, so we're going to be involved with that. So we're going to take Wednesday off, no show on Wednesday, so you can relax, enjoy the inauguration. We pray for peace, of course, as we have a new president and vice president coming in, and we wish them all the blessings and wish them well. And so it's a big day here, of course, in the United States, Inauguration Day. So we're going to be busy that day. I'm on the air, and we're going to take the evening off from this show, and then we'll be back on Thursday. So we're here tomorrow with actor Eric Tucker, and then we're off on Wednesday. And we're back on Thursday with brilliant actress and singer Julie Budd. She's all excited. And then on Friday, we've got a fascinating show about dreams and the meaning of dreams with incredible dream analyst and author Patricia Eltinge. She is going to be here live from, I believe it's Los Angeles area. And she's been doing this for decades, and she's extraordinary. And so that's going to be a participatory show. That's this Friday. I can't wait. She actually wants me to think about some of the dreams that I've had recently. Dreams, when you're sleeping. And because we all have dreams during the day, but dreams when you're sleeping, and she wants to sort of analyze some of those. So I'm thinking about a couple of recent ones, and you guys think about some dreams that you've been having lately. And they could be good dreams, they could be negative dreams, it could be whatever it is, because she's going to want audience participation. So if you've had some dreams that perhaps have been sort of happening over and over again, think about your dreams, write them down, and then you'll be able to live on the air have her analyze your dreams. You'll post in the comments like you normally do what your dreams have been, and she will be able to respond. Since we do this show live, and since we do like to bring in viewer interaction, which we've always done really since day one on this series, it's going to be an exciting show. That's this Friday. And then on Saturday, we've got an amazing actor that's going to be with us, very well-known actor and singer. Sam Harris is with us on Saturday. That's Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And then on Sunday, we've got an amazing guest who's a brilliant dancer and singer and actor as well. Here's Sam Harris. Sam is going to be with us on Saturday. Here is Patricia, the dream analyst and author, that's going to be with us on Friday. Nikita Burstin is going to be with us on Sunday. He is an amazing dancer and actor and singer. He's going to be with us on Sunday. Just a little preview of some of the amazing guests we have coming up on our show. Next Tuesday, Rebecca Harkin is going to be with us. Rebecca Harkin is going to be live from Australia. She is the sister of Keith Harkin from Celtic Thunder. She's a brilliant singer and songwriter and performer herself. Originally from Ireland, she is going to be here on Tuesday of next week, live from Australia. It's going to be a different time. We're going to be doing it earlier in the day here, a little bit earlier. So I'll keep your actually, it's on the YouTube channel. You can check it out on the YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV, the exact time and everything. So we'll keep you abreast of that. You can see it also on the Facebook page too. We're going to be announcing that. But the YouTube channel has the exact time of when it airs. We're looking forward to that. Everybody's excited about Rebecca Harkin joining us on the show as well. If you missed any of the episodes of the Jim Masters Show live and you'd like to see them again, you can see them all on our YouTube channel. So again, actor and director Eric Tucker is with us Tuesday, tomorrow. Then we're off for the inauguration day. We're going to be very busy on the air with that. So off from this show, we're taking that night off. That's this Wednesday. I hope everybody enjoys the inauguration. It's certainly going to be very different this year. We pray for, again, stability and peace. We all need that, and it's something we're all craving. And then Thursday, actress and singer Julie Budd will be with us. It's going to be a wonderful show. She's all excited. And then dream analyst and author Patricia Eltinge is going to be with us live on Friday. Get those dreams ready, write them down. You'll be able to post them, and she'll be able to analyze your dreams live on the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. Every show is something different. Every show is something unique and fun and entertaining. We always learn something. And Sam Harris is with us on Saturday, and Nikita Burstin, the dancer, singer, and an actor extraordinaire, is going to be with us on Sunday. So lots of great shows coming up. As I mentioned, it is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Where he, of course, always talked about love and light. So we say love and light to you as well from all of us and myself at the Jim Masters Show Live. And Kathy Short says, Friday sounds fascinating for a great chat, and have a wonderful evening, Jim. Thank you, Kathy. Absolutely. Christine says, your Friday guest will be interpreting, analyzing our dreams. Be interesting. Thanks for bringing us such a variety of guests. My pleasure. I love variety. Variety is the spice of life, and we got a lot of variety here on our show. See you tomorrow. That's right. Eric Tucker will be here. See you tomorrow, June. Absolutely. Juanita in South Africa. Great show again. Thanks, Jim. Good night, everyone. Stay well. You stay well as well. And she also says, ooh, dreams, going to be an exciting show. It really is. Mona says, thank you so much for tonight. Great show. Thank you so much for all you do and spending time with us. Enjoyed it. Hope you and all the loveities have a great evening. Stay safe, everyone, and good night. Thank you, Mona. You too. And great show, Jim. Have a great night. Good night, all, from Kathleen in New York City with all the wonderful emojis. You as well. And Maureen says, have a great night. You stay safe and well also. And Wozniak says, good night, Jim and everyone. This was an amazing evening. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Todd in Hollywood, thanks for all your beautiful comments, Todd. I really appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in on our YouTube channel, and I hope you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet at Jim Masters TV. We love that. It helps the show, as we all know, and that allows us to continue to present more great content and episodes of our daily series. Good night, Todd in Hollywood. And Bernadette says, good night, Jim. Thank you for this episode. Good night, everyone. Please stay safe and stay well. You as well, Bernadette. Great show again, Jim. Thanks again, Todd. I really appreciate that. And I thoroughly enjoy tuning into your shows, Jim. You're a dynamic conversationalist. Dynamic. I love that word. Thank you very much, Tina. I appreciate that. Willie says, bye, 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 Jim. You as well, Willie. You have a good night and sleep well. And yes, Gary, I'm in my chair tonight. I am seated. Absolutely. Tulips coming in as well from Willie. And thank you for your stories. And Christine says, thanks for spending the evening with us. That was for our very special guest, two-time Tony winning Joe DiPietro. Wonderful to have everybody here. And good night to you as well, Willie, there in Holland. Don't forget, everybody, to relax and to breathe deeply, pray for peace, pray for unity, and of course, relax. We always say to relax. So make sure you, whenever you can, relax, breathe from the diaphragm, and take a deep breath and pause and love one another. And of course, take time to love you, because everybody has worth and value in this world. And if your days aren't so great, well, we are here on the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series to hopefully put a smile on your face, and hopefully you're entertained and you learn something new at the same time. And even when it's host chat like we're doing right now, some of my favorite times on the show, and the way the show began actually back in the spring of last year, was me talking to the camera and you guys popping in. And then I started bringing guests on. So it's great. Good night, Jim. Lovities. Everyone stay safe and well. Huggles from Tina. All right. Group hug, gang, right? Everybody group hug. Since we can't do it right now in person, we'll do a virtual. There you go. Sound good? Pass that along. As we always say, too, here on the Jim Masters Show Live, we always say, don't forget to smile and pass along the smile, because smiles can be contagious, the best kind of contagious. Share the loveity. We always say that as well. Whenever you can, share the loveity, which has become our claim to fame here on the Jim Masters Show Live by accident. But what a accident, a happy accident. Like Bob Ross, the wonderful painter, said on public television, happy accidents. We only have happy accidents. And loveity, one of them. Don't forget to find your Zen place. I love the ocean, as you guys know, and cycling and tennis and music and writing and so much more. But the ocean is a Zen place to go to. Swimming, surfing, kiteboarding, boogie boarding, sailing, walking along the ocean, sunset, sunrise. Grew up near the ocean, so blessed. And of course, my work in television and radio and stage, on air, on camera, behind the scenes, and all the different roles and hosting and producing and journalism and all of it. Just love it, and truly a blessing. And all the people I have an opportunity to work with and the various roles on air, behind the scenes, and so much more. So, and of course, being here on the Jim Masters Show Live every night with you guys is fantastic as well. Love it. Stay safe and be well. And stars from Willie, who's now going to get a chance to go to bed. Rest well and stay safe. Be well. Good night to you as well. Gang, another wonderful show. We thank again our very special guest, Joe DiPietro. He was wonderful. Great conversation. And hopefully you learned something as well about the process, and probably reminded you of some of the extraordinary plays and productions he's been responsible for, he and his team, because it always takes a team to put things together. And as he mentioned, he loves working with others. And as do I, and that's a beautiful thing to do that and to share that. So we thank you. We cherish all of you. The show continues to amaze me. It continues to grow. It continues to fine tune and tweak as we go along. We have so many surprises, so many incredible things happening. Many of you ask, how can I help? You can continue to spread the word about the show. Tell people to like the YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Doesn't cost anything. And click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the great content. That really helps us be able to continue creating the content for you. Like the Facebook page, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Jim Masters TV, and just continue to tell your family and friends and others about the Jim Masters Show Live, entertainment lifestyle talk show series. And it's been extraordinary. It's here we are in the middle of January this year, and we're almost at the year point of hundreds of shows that we've done day after day. Really, truly is quite amazing to me, as much as I know it is to all of you. So with all of that said, and thanks for all the comments that you guys post on the YouTube channel and on Facebook and Instagram, and to all the phenomenal guests that we have. Smiles from Willie. Yes. Time to go dream now. Think about those dreams. Write them down for Friday's show with dream analyst and author Patricia joining us on the show. Dream about our loveity cruise, wearing loveity swag with some of our loveity guests too, right? We'll have to whip up some of those guests and have them join us as well. All right, gang, class dismissed. You're all terrific. Thanks for your participation. And again, I know a lot of people that watch the show that don't comment. Perfectly fine. You don't need to comment to be a viewer or a loveity on our show. Although the real lovities seem to love to comment and participate, and we love that. Keep it coming. And people watch the show afterwards too. A lot of people binge watch these episodes later, at their leisure, on demand. You can do that. As we always say, if you missed any of the episodes of our show, they're all there for you 24/7, 365 on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. That's right. And while you're there, click subscribe if you haven't. We would love that. 3:20 a.m. Get to bed. And dream. Start thinking about dreaming and writing your dreams down, gang. All right, loveities, we will see you tomorrow, hopefully. If not, we will then see you on our next episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. Love you all. Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate that. And again, beautiful day here in America with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Revered man with a vision and a purpose. And we celebrate him and we celebrate you. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. Love you all. Bye-bye.